Out of the boundaries of time and space, a playground exists where two young ladies meet to become friends. This playground is only accessible by a portkey.
Happy birthday, Jennifer. As I'm making this, I hope you're out enjoying yourself like I was the last 2 times I was supposed to be making this video. I made a couple of mistakes. Now, I have to share some other mistakes, namely ones that made me feel embarrassed. It's a little bit hard because I try and suppress embarrassing memories. I'm gonna try and choose 2, one that's happened pretty recently and one not so recently, and it still embarrasses me even though I totally can't remember it actually happening. I'm gonna go chronologically. The first happened when I'm not even sure, the way my parents tell it, I was little, I think maybe 3 or 4. I was at my grandma's house, and so while she was in the tub, I was goofing around at the toilet. And so I sat on the toilet sideways, and I said, "Hey grandma, look at me, I'm sitting backwards," and then I promptly fell in. But in the toilet, I also thought I was on it backwards when obviously I was only sideways. Now that actually embarrasses me almost more than the fact that I was in the toilet, because like backwards and sideways, very different things. Sorry, back to the story. I was in the toilet and my grandma couldn't get me out because I'd wedged myself in so far. Eventually she did, but I'm embarrassed by the fact that I fell in a toilet when I was little, and now I just shared it with the internet. Hopefully, Jennifer, you're going to be the only one to see this video ever. And the second story I'm going to use is actually from Gishwas this year. I happened to be in Seattle during the event that they had planned to break a whole bunch of world records. We worked to break 2 world records, and then Misha suggested the 3rd one, which required us to go outside, and what we were trying to do was be the longest hula hoop passing chain, which essentially just means that a hula hoop got introduced into the chain and each person had to pass it without letting go of the hands of the people on either side of them. But then they had to hold the person's hand the rest of the time. So from the moment the hula hoop got introduced into our group to the moment we made it around the circle and the hula hoop was taken away, we had to hold hands. And at one point I felt my bra strap starting to slide. So I reached up, of course still holding the hand of the person next to me because I didn't want to be the person to break the chain, and I tried to adjust it. I essentially made a stranger touch my boob, and anyway, I hope she's over it. I'm working to get over it. I hope you enjoyed the embarrassing stories, because now you have to tell one because you missed your video last week. Yeah, I can't do it. I was not cut out to be a supervillain apparently. Or I was cut out to be Dr. Horrible. Watch out, I'm gonna start singing to you soon. No, I'm not, even though it's your birthday. I thought about singing happy birthday, but then I realized it was copyrighted and I am not making that mistake again. So I was supposed to tell you about my travels as they were happening, but as we know that didn't happen. That's why I told my embarrassing stories. What I'm thinking I'm gonna do instead is actually make a short little series separate from my Saturday videos where I can share from start to finish what I did on the road trip, but I can also share some like little tidbits about where I found information about planning the road trip and what worked and what didn't work. Let me know if you think that would be a good idea. Oh, lastly, your challenge. I did it. Woo! Even though I didn't do videos, I totally did the challenge. It was a little bit hard because you told me I had to try something I've never tried before, and I have tried a lot. Like, I've tried calamari and escargot, and I've even tried haggis. It's actually kind of good. But when I was in St. Louis, my boss told me I had to go to this Vietnamese place and try something called a hot pot, which it wasn't actually that adventurous. It was super tasty though. It was essentially like rice in this pot with a bunch of vegetables, some tofu, and the rice, I don't have any idea how they did this, but the rice was essentially caramelized. Very, very, very tasty. Like, here's my before picture of it, and here's my after picture. Yum. Now that I've completed my challenge, it's my turn to give you a challenge. You wrote a book with your sister. I want to hear an excerpt of that book. I want you to read it to me as an awesome author person. Since you did co-author it, if your sister's not comfortable with you sharing the book before it gets published and you become super famous, I want you to write me a short story and share it. But I want it to be super, like, professional. I want you to stand at a podium or something and read it as if it's to a big audience and it's your debut. I want that. So, have a great birthday!